First off, she took part in the Asian F3 Winter Series, driving at absolute rate.
So I'm guessing this is the part of the video where he kind of breaks down, like, yeah, it was never gonna work. That's so depressing. What is going on, guys? It is JJ here, back with a new video, and okay, this one was sent to us very randomly because I just always have the thought, why are there no women in F1? I think there are 2 or 3 women that are in NASCAR, which I think is super sick because it's a sport. If drivers can be any gender, they can be of any race, they can be of any creed, it doesn't matter. If you are the best driver in the world, you should be in the best cars in the world. And so I always wondered why there are no female F1 drivers. And then this was sent to me. So we're gonna take a look at Jamie Chadwick, I think is her name, and can she make it to F1 is the video title. I'm hopefully gonna learn more about her, more about the sport. Just getting to know F1 still has been absolutely amazing. I love every bit of it, and so this video should also be really fun. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments below, and let's get into the video. As well, guys, you can find the original video, and it does have some sponsored ads. We're gonna send the sponsors because support the original creators channel. But yeah, you can find that original video in the description below.
The year is 1958, and the sport of Formula One is about to bear witness to one of the most important drivers in its history. This one, Maria Teresa de Felipe. Does that name mean anything to you? Well, if it doesn't, she was the first woman to drive in Formula One. And while she was
there already is one.
This whole thing did not sit too well with a few people who were born at a time where crapping in the garden was considered a luxury. In fact, at the French Grand Prix that year, the race director, who shunned her from the event, proclaimed that the only helmet a woman should wear is the one at the hairdressers. It was only extremely misogynistic, but since that time, 5 more women have competed in a Formula One weekend. Lilla Lombardi, who scored points in the 1975 Spanish Grand Prix, Davina Galitza, a former Olympiad and plenty fast driver who, to this day, still teaches people how to drive fast. Desiree Wilson, who was a winner in the British Formula One Championship, and Giovanna Armati, who... Yeah, let's ignore that. Since the inception of the sport back in 1950, 771 drivers have attempted to qualify for a Formula One Grand Prix, and those drivers I just listed are the only women to have ever done so. And the last to have qualified for a Grand Prix was Lombardi in the 1976 Austrian Grand Prix. Since that time, we've had a drought in the sport, with the only thing close to an answer was being Susie Wolff between 2014 and 2015, where she drove in free practice sessions with Williams. Meanwhile, the World Rally Championship saw the emergence of Michel Mouton, who took on the world and damn nearly won it all in the 80s. We need someone like that in Formula One. A heroine that can prove that, yeah, it is f***ing possible. Screw those naysayers. Enter in Jamie Chadwick, and I'm sure some of you are mortified when I bring up her name. How dare I?
Why?
I don't know wheel. Well, a lot of people have brought up her name. Even Formula One journos themselves. She is a part of a Formula One academy. This ain't the boogeyman. You can't just close your eyes and pretend it don't exist, which is why...
Wait, why are people scared like that? Dude, I don't get it. I don't get it. It's just... It's woman driving a Formula One car. Like, what is so revolutionary about that? What is so scary or disastrous about that? Especially if she's in an academy, she's been in one for years.
In this video, we see
what is the difference?
The answer. Can Jamie Chadwick end the drought and break into Formula One?
That would be sick.
Before we dive into all of that, we have to pay tribute to this
is the sponsored ads. This is the sponsored ads.
Our reliance on the internet presentation on that Formula One grid, despite what the naysayers say. And I say that knowing full well that I've tarnished the likes of Carmen Jorda, who was a part of the Lotus Formula One team back in 2013, or whenever the hell it was they became desperate. But she was a Formula One caliber talent in the same way that a sloth is an apex predator. And then we had Simona de Silvestro and Tatiana Calderon, who were a part of the Sauber F1 team for a while. But what we're looking for is a full-time competitor, and I'm not talking about a Giovanna Armati here. We more want someone like Michel Mouton, but is Chadwick of that caliber? Well, you know what time it is.
Driver profile time. Let's do it.
Championship in the UK probably is not what first springs to mind when you envision the pathway to Formula One. But for Lando Norris, that was exactly the case. And for Chadwick a year prior, she made her car racing debut with an average takeaway from it all, I guess you could say. Although 2014 was more prosperous with 5 podiums, finishing 8th in the championship. Take the piss all you want, but Lando did not win the title either. It is nonetheless a good launchpad for a young career. And with the ultimate dream of Formula One there, Chaddis took the next logical step and signed up to the British GT Championship, competing in GT4 alongside Ross Gunn. And given her previous 2 years of results, what came of this year was, as you would have expected, she won the whole damn thing. Yes, it was a good year, and yes, the GT4 class wasn't exactly brim with the ultra exotic grids that you would find in WEC or ADAC or Chadwick, but she did nonetheless become the first woman to win the British GT Championship. And this kind of achievement is not something to scoff at. GTs were soon to be a thing of the past though, when she graduated to single-seaters for 2017, driving in the British Formula 3 Championship with RR Racing. Her results did not exactly instill a lot of confidence among people, although those results do deserve some context, seeing as how spec series are equal in the same way that Esteban Gutierrez is a tub of lard. Comparing teammates is the more fair way of gauging a driver's results, and even then it could get a little sus. Her only full-time teammate that year was Guilherme Salmeyer, who was Time Magazine's Mayor of the Year in 2020. That year, Salmeyer finished 13th overall on 195 points, with only one podium to his name. Chadwick, meanwhile, finished 9th in the standings on 264 points, with only one podium to her name as well, but it is still all the more encouraging for her to beat her teammate. She remained in British F3 for another season, this time with Douglas, and driving alongside Arvin Ismaili and Jordan Kane. Chadwick had the measure of Ismaili, although Kane was a more tricky opponent, until financial difficulties set in. Thank you very much, capitalism. The record books show her finishing behind Manuel Maldonado, but the record books also show her to be the first woman to win a British F3 race when she crossed the line first at Brands Hatch. Finishing P8 in the standings though was a marginal improvement, and the results looked damning, which is why competing in the MRF Challenge Series in India a few months later was key. The MRF Challenge had a decent list of champions at that point: Connor Daly, Rupert Svensson-Cook, Toby Sowery, Pietro Fittipaldi, Harrison Newey, and Felipe Drugovich. None of them are
I think the only name I recognize there is maybe Fittipaldi, because someone's like commented him on this video, or on one of the videos. He's zooming through. I'm trying to just take all this information in all at once.
names that you would scoff at, and had beaten the likes of Mick Schumacher and Rinus VeeKay to their titles. The series was starting to die a slow death once political agendas were starting to subside, but it was still a championship, and Chadwick still had the likes of Max Stefani and Patrick Pasma to go up against. The whole championship, Chad's lowest finishing position in a race was P5, but her most common place to be finishing was first. In the last 2 rounds, she won 6 out of the 10 races, and what this meant was that when she crossed the line in the last race in Chennai, she became the MRF Challenge champion for 2019. Say what you will about this, about any of this, at the end of the day, she ended up with that trophy. And it didn't stop there either. She would win the inaugural season of the W Series to add to her silverware, winning 2 out of the 6 rounds. She was clearly the pace setter that year, and by now we were kind of wondering, hang on, could this be the F1 prospect that we've all been looking for all these years?
So
it had been decades since the last time a woman had driven an F1 proper. She was then signed to the Williams Driver Academy midway through 2019, bringing her one step closer to the edge I'm about to break. After all these years, had we found her? Well, if we did, the next few months would bring all of this to a grinding halt. First off, she took part in the Asian F3 Winter Series, driving at absolute rate.
So I'm guessing this is the part of the video where he kind of breaks down, like, yeah, it was never gonna work. That's so depressing.
Smith, whose claim to fame was achieving a podium in the New Zealand Formula Ford series that by this time was so anemic that most creatures would have been declared clinically dead at that point. So it was no surprise that Chadders beat him by a country mile. It wasn't even close, and Chadders would pick up 5 podiums that year and was pretty much robbed of a win in Abu Dhabi, which, now that I've said that out loud, oh boy. And really, it took till Abu Dhabi for her results to pick up. For the first 2
Nikita
rounds,
Mazepin is right there.
Although she did get 10 super license points when all was said and done. But it wasn't quite as bad as what happened in the Formula Regional European Championship, or FRECA. Heading into the season, it was announced that Chadwick had signed with Prema Power Team. At long last, a proper junior team to play with. This was going to be the moment to shine. Finally, proper backing. At least, we thought it would have been. For you see, she secured sponsorship from Rodden, a New Zealand-based company that bought some Lotus T125s and is run by an even nicer Gandalf. Rumour has it that Chadwick's entry into Prema was primarily down to an F3 car being bought from outside the team, with Prema only really doing the running of it. Why does this matter? Well, maybe I'll save that mumbo jumbo for another video. Irrespective of this, however, while teammates Gianluca Petikov, Artur Leclerc, and Oliver Rasmussen all finished 1, 2, 3 in the standings, Chadders was down in 9th, with only 1 podium coming at Misano, and in a desperate struggle to make any sense of the car. From the outside looking in, it was a show. The next year, however, would harbour better fortunes. She was still in the Williams Driver Academy, and thrown into the W Series once again with Veloce, as well as doing select events at Extreme E, and eating hot wings with goes at YouTubers. Once again, she was W Series champion, beating out the hard-charging pair of Alice Powell and Emma Kamalainen, which means, if my math is right, and it definitely ain't, she has enough super license points to partake in a Formula 1 practice session. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. Trying to find out the super license points tally from the FIA is like trying to infiltrate the Lubyanka, but we have arrived at the Formula 1 part of things, which brings us on to the ultimate question. Can Jamie Chadwick break into Formula 1? And I realise I made that sound like a bank heist, but what are you going to do? In my opinion, after having watched hours of racing, studied as much as I could in the very limited time that I had to study for this video, the answer that I've come to for that question is no. And it sucks, because I genuinely hope that I'm wrong here. I'm not saying she's bad. She's good. Let's not get that twisted. But Formula One is a high bar. The highest bar. And I'm not just talking about talent. Although talent isn't even the biggest part of it all. I mean, King Latifi over here is forking out tens of millions to plonk his Canadian keister into a Grand Prix seat. Perhaps, luckily...
I hate that he brought in the Latifi reference because I hate Nicholas Latifi. I don't have anything wrong with Nicholas Latifi. It's just the man... I can't explain my Latifi deal. I can't explain it.
Rich Canadians to bail them out of their financial shortfalls. But Chatters still needs the funds. She still needs those super license points. And the best way to acquire them is through F3 or F2. And that totally depends upon whether you're in the right team at the right time and beating the teammates that you have. And ultimately, battle harden you for the top flight of motorsport. But honestly, we do need
so she
more
needs to get to
representation in the
F3.
sport, and it's about encouraging the next wave of talent. Not like the Carmen Jordas or the Giovanna Armatis, but the Michelle Moutons, the Lella Lombardis, the Desiree Wilsons, trying to show other young up-and-coming drivers such as Abby Pulling or Ella Stevens or Maya Vogue or Luna Fluxa that this is possible, and possible to do well. So, prove us wrong, Jamie Chadwick, because this sport needs it.
Okay. This is why I like this YouTuber. This is why I like this guy. Because he genuinely does care. Like, you can obviously tell the man cares in what he's making and what he wants to see and the representation he wants to see in the sport. But people need to realize that not making it to F1 isn't a disaster. She's most likely to have an amazing career in endurance racing or Extreme E. What is Extreme E? She has Chad in her name, and that's the issue, guys. The issue, she has Chad in her name. Formula E would be a good fit. Okay, so I think, at least from the comments perspective, people say she does have a future in racing. Like, it's not like she doesn't, have a right to be in a car, doesn't have a right to be around the FIA series. It's just that Formula One might not be her cup of tea. Which, while that is depressing, I feel like even there's probably millions and millions of up-and-coming talents or great drivers who have had to, pull out due to funding or pull out just due to, lack of experience, things like that, who have already dreamed of being in Formula One and just hadn't been able to get there. And it's unfortunate to see someone like her not be able to do that thing as well. So, obviously, I'm like him, just like him. I'm rooting for you. She'll never see this video, but I'm rooting for you nonetheless. And it would be very interesting, I think, to see a woman driving an F1 car. Even if it was just for a practice lap or a qualifying session, like the amount of press that would be around it, I think it gives a great representation for the sport. That inclusivity is real. I remember, what is her name? Danica Patrick. I didn't even watch NASCAR. I still don't watch NASCAR to this day. But as a kid, I didn't even watch NASCAR. And I can remember vividly seeing her sort of break into the sport. Super sick. It was super dope and I loved it. And she lasted for a really, really long time. So, I mean, the women can drive. It's just they need the opportunity. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and peace.